So I want to thank you all for joining this evening to learn how you can electrify your ride. My name is Amnika Osborne, and I'm with Cool the Earth, an environmental nonprofit with a mission to reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. While we are big fans of walking, biking, public transportation, and carpooling, preferably in an electric car, with our Ride and Drive Clean collaboration, we work to advance the adoption of electric vehicles, EVs, and e-bikes in a fair and just marketplace. Thank you to City of Palo Alto Utilities for sponsoring this webinar. We'll be covering all of these things today. We'll talk a little bit about the benefits of driving electric, go into incentives. I'll do an EV showcase. I'm going to do a brief how-to EV. We'll talk a little bit more about our organization, what we do, and we'll have a Q&A at the end. The focus of this webinar is how to save money with an EV, so that will be the first part of this presentation. But we just, last month, we're doing a webinar about New Year called New Year, New Ride. So I have some great slides in my EV showcase also that I want to share with you with all the current and coming EVs. Before we get started, though, I do want to say that we'll be going over lots of information tonight. And not to worry, I'll be sending you a PDF of this presentation in our follow-up email, which I will send out tomorrow. And if any questions come up, please feel free to ask them in the chat. And we may answer them throughout this webinar or at the very end during Q&A. The email that you'll get tomorrow is going to come from info@Ride and Drive Clean, just so you can look out for that. It'll have lots of handy links and good information. Okay, so let's dive in. So there are many benefits to driving electric. In California, our passenger vehicles are the single largest source of GHG emissions, representing up to 50% of our individual carbon footprint. So when we switch from a gas car to an EV, and plug into clean energy like we can here in the Bay Area, we're taking impactful climate action by reducing our carbon emissions and air pollution, both which disproportionately impact our priority communities. And in addition to reducing our impact on the planet, there's no sacrifice when we go electric. We can save time, money, and improve our driving experience. An EV can even help with backup power when there's a power outage. I'll just talk about that for a moment. This new technology with using the big batteries that are in EVs to power up our homes is pretty new. I live up in San Rafael. Many people up here lost power during the last week, but it was really the first time we've lost power in the last few years since some of these new technologies have come out. So lots of people were testing them out. A good friend of mine has a Hyundai Ioniq 5, which has a bidirectional battery. And so she was able to plug in her adapter and power up her refrigerator and some other large appliances during the power outage. Thankfully, it was only a short power outage and she didn't need to drive very far. So she was able to just power up her EV, charge it up after the power outage. Okay, so although early EV drivers paid a high premium for electric cars, today's EV drivers often save money. And here are some reasons why. It costs much less to fuel an electric car. Fueling a gas car can be 2 to 5 times more expensive than fueling an EV, depending upon where and when you charge it. Electricity prices also tend to be much more stable than gas prices, as we have seen in the last few years. In addition, maintenance costs are 40% lower for EVs. It's basically adding windshield wiper fluid and rotating your tires. And then there are the standard incentives available for up to $7,500, which can bring down the cost of purchasing or leasing an EV. So there are currently 4 types of incentives that can save you up to $7,500 or even more when you buy certain EVs. Additional grants and rebates are available for both new and used cars, for both EVs, for people who qualify through their income and residence. We won't be going into great detail on those today, but you can ask me about those, during the Q&A session. So the federal tax credit or the clean vehicle credit has been updated for 2024. There are new qualifications for this tax credit, which we will review on the next slide. And there is the tax credit for used EVs, and the commercial credit may be applied when you lease an EV or to fleets. The good news for these three options is that this tax credit is now available as an upfront rebate, and you don't need any tax liability to qualify. For the new and pre-owned EVs, the dealership that you're working with needs to be signed up with the IRS. And you do need to get some documentation after you purchase the car. So please verify that your dealership is signed up with the IRS. This is something that's new this year since they started doing this upfront rebate. And as far as I've heard, about 50% of dealers are signed up. So that's something to just be aware of. Depending upon where you live and who provides your electricity, there may be additional utility and CCA incentives. PG&E offers a pre-owned EV rebate for $1,000 for anyone who is a PG&E customer, and it goes up to $4,000 depending upon your income. If you'd like to install a charger at home, there's also a home charging tax credit. It's 30% of the cost of the install and hardware, up to $1,000. New this year, though, the location of your residence determines qualification for this credit. So there is a federal tax, so there is a special website that you can go to find out if you live in an area that actually qualifies. We have information about this on our incentives page, Ride and Drive Clean /incentives. At the very bottom of that page, there's more information and links so you can find out if you actually qualify. And during the month of February, with our partner Cartelligent, we are offering an EV discount campaign with thousands. You can save thousands on four different EVs. We'll be talking more about that a little later. These savings calculators here on this page are a great way to find out exactly which rebates and incentives you qualify for. I suggest you customize. You can, put in your household income, your zip code, and some other information, and it'll tell you exactly what you qualify for. Very handy. So before I dive into the federal tax credit, I want to emphasize that I am not a tax expert, so we recommend that you verify with a tax professional for guidance. As I mentioned, the Clean Vehicle Credit for $7,500 is now available as an instant rebate. So it can be applied to your down payment at point of sale. Some people call this cash on the hood. I like that. You do have to purchase your EV from a qualifying dealer and make sure you receive a copy of the successfully submitted IRS seller report before you leave the dealership, as you will have to submit this when you file your taxes. This goes for the pre-owned rebate as well. You'll need the seller's report. And I believe this is mostly because there are income limits on both of these, on both the new and the pre-owned EV credit. So in order to qualify for the following are the requirements. So you do have to purchase or finance a new EV. Final assembly for these EVs must be in North America. These are the vehicle price limits. These are your income limits. And these are the critical mineral and battery component requirements that are becoming a little more stringent every year. As a result of this, fewer EVs now qualify for this credit, it's this now upfront rebate. And here is the list of those vehicles that do qualify currently. This is for purchase or finance. So I'll leave this up here for a moment. There's a website at the bottom here, the fueleconomy.gov website, that tells you exactly which ones qualify. And this website is being updated all the time. So we're hoping that they'll be able to add some more EVs to this list as the year progresses. It was just a week ago or 2 weeks ago that the Volkswagen ID4 became eligible. So hopefully we'll have a few more. I know there are some manufacturing plants and battery manufacturing plants from like Kia and Hyundai coming to the United States later this year. So that should help. And I do want to let you know that, The credit varies depending upon the model, trim, and VIN. And I'll just talk a little bit about that. So for example, the Tesla Model 3, only the performance trim qualifies. If you go to the Tesla website, they're not selling the performance one right now. I think they'll be selling it next month. But you can get one that's already in stock. You can get a performance one that's already, at the dealership or at the Tesla showroom, I should say. And then in terms of the Volkswagen ID4, so many different trims qualify. However, not all of the vehicles qualify because some of the batteries are manufactured in the United States and some are not. So the way to check on that is through the VIN. And so your dealership or Cartelligent can help you with that. We wish it were a little bit easier or a little more straightforward, but it feels, sometimes it's a little more complicated than we'd like. So while the clean vehicle tax credit has lots of restrictions, there may be around all of these requirements. If you lease an EV, it can act as a commercial credit, and the dealership may pass on the $7,500 lease credit or lease bonus when they figure out your payments. There are fewer restrictions, like no income cap, and the EV can be manufactured in other countries. Check with Cartelligent or your local dealer, or maybe a few other dealers about this. The used EV credit is also available as an upfront credit this year for up to $4,000. The pre-owned EVs do not need to meet sourcing requirements, and the price of the used EV must be less than $25,000. But yes, it does need to be purchased from a licensed dealer, so you can't purchase this from a friend. It has to be a licensed dealer that is signed up with the IRS so that you get that seller's report, because as you can see, there are some income limits, a little bit more strict income limits for the pre-owned rebate. So what happens if you're like, oh yeah, I don't really know how much I'm going to make this year. I'm going to just get that cash on the hood rebate, and then you end up making more than you thought you might. In that case, when you file your taxes, you're going to have to pay that back. So that's why it's good to have a good estimate. And if you think that you're going for this credit, maybe check with a tax advisor. So I want to talk a little bit about our February EV discount campaign. So several times a year, we offer an EV discount campaign through our partner, Cartelligent. So we've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. We learned early on when we started doing our work with EVs that one of the biggest barriers to an EV is cost. So we were trying to figure out one way to, bring the cost down for people, for consumers. And so we decided to partner with Cartelligent, which is a car concierge service, very highly regarded in the Bay Area. It's been around for 20 years, and they do really, really great work all the time, keeping the purchase really easy and always offering great discounts and deals, good pricing on EVs, because they work with, since they're a dealer, they work with many different dealerships. So they're able to negotiate excellent discounts. And when we have these EV discount campaigns, which we hope to have 4 times a year, they're able to negotiate these special discounts on select EVs. So these are the 4 EVs that qualify this time around. We're hoping to have another one in the April-May timeframe, another and 2 more throughout the year. I say this just because you just never know what happens. We had this plan all along, and then the pandemic happened, and then we couldn't get any good deals on EVs because of all the manufacturing delays and such. So we're hoping to continue to do several discount campaigns. And I know, sometimes the timing doesn't work out for somebody. Maybe your lease deal is going to be up in July, so now isn't a great time, but know that we'll be having a few more throughout the year. And I'm actually going to take us straight to our website so that you know exactly how this works and how to sign up. So if you signed up for this, you should have received probably an email about this discount campaign that just came out yesterday. We sent it out yesterday to everybody on our mailing list. I will include this link also in my follow-up email. So you go to this EV discount campaign link. You can also access it if you go to Save Money, EV discount campaign. So here you can see all of the information on the cars that are included, the pricing, the discounts, etc. And then you need to sign up. So you would sign up here, and this is where you would say, like, yes, I'm ready to go, have Cartelligent contact me soon. I think they try to contact you within 48 hours of their, in their business time. And but if you just want to kind of stay informed, like, wow, this is exciting, I want to take a part in a discount campaign, but maybe not this time, you can just tick that box there. We have this webinar tonight, and then we're going to have another webinar next week. We'll have staff from Cartelligent at that webinar next week. And, you can ask questions right then and there about how it all works. So really, this is how it works. You fill out the form. Cartelligent will respond in 2 to 3. Sorry, I'm trying to make this a little bigger, but it's not letting me. Let me see if I do it this way. Yes, there we go. So Cartelligent will respond. They will waive. So typically, Cartelligent has a service fee of about $5.95, I think it is. Yes, and throughout the year, if you mention Ride and Drive Clean, you'll get $100 off that service fee. But during this discount campaign, if you end up purchasing or leasing one of those cars, the service fee is waived. But it has to be one of those 4 EVs. So if you decide, yeah, I like these cars, these are all great, but I want a Kia EV6, and that's not on here, you'll still have to pay that $5.95. But if you mention Ride and Drive Clean, they will give you a discount on that. Okay, what else? Yeah, so there's no deposit required to order any of these vehicles. Let's see. Yeah, you'll pick up your EV at one of Cartelligent's 4 locations: Irvine, Menlo Park, Sausalito, or Walnut Creek. Very convenient here in the Bay Area and even in LA. When you pick up your car, you'll get a tutorial of your new car. You'll do sign the paperwork. It's really a no hassle way to buy a car. 99% of people who go through this experience with Cartelligent, are very happy with how easy the process is. But you can't test drive the cars with Cartelligent. So if you're interested in any of these cars, this is a really good time to go and test drive them at a dealership. I would suggest maybe just don't walk into the office when they start negotiating prices. And another thing I just wanted to point out is that sometimes a dealership can kind of play around with the terms and the costs, the lease cost, and it might appear that your lease deal or your purchase deal is better than these deals. And once in a while, that is the case, but oftentimes the money is going to end up coming from a different source somehow. I'll give an example. A friend of mine traded in her Honda Pilot for a Kia Niro 3 years ago, and she was like, "Wait a second, my lease price is going to be a lot cheaper if I go through the dealership." But then the dealer was going to give her $8,000 on her trade-in for her Honda Pilot. Cartelligent gave her $15,000 for the trade-in. So, just be aware of what the deal is, and make sure you're also comparing apples with apples. I'm going to head back over to the slideshow. I see there are some questions in the chat, and let me address those now. Curious about whether EVs still get free access to the carpool lane. Yes, they do. I'm so happy. I bought a used EV over the summer. So once you take delivery of your EV, you have to get your registrations and your license plate, and then you can apply for this on the DMV website. So you get, it's a nice bonus. It can help you save time. You get access to the carpool lane as a single driver. However, I'm hearing that this special incentive is going to be available through 2025, and it may end then. It may be renewed then, but it will go at least through 2025. So if you buy it this year, you'll have it throughout this year and next year as well. Okay. Bo, I don't know. I hope I've answered all your questions about EV incentives. Also, will you send the recording out? Yes, we will. A few days later, we'll actually put the recording up on the CPAU, City of Palo Alto Utilities website. They are our sponsor and they will post it. What is the most cost-effective way to keep driving an EV? The Leaf does not have, I mean, the Leaf, okay, so Matt, these are some good questions. The most cost-effective way. So, I mean, you can look at these these 4 cars for that have the discount campaign, look at the different incentives going on and see if we can get a comparable, some comparable deals. I do want to say what I have noticed is that since the pandemic, the average cost of cars in general has gone up. Currently, the average cost of any car is $48,000. So it's gone up significantly, like many things have, increased in price over the last few years, inflation. So you may not have as good of a deal as you got on your Nissan Leaf 3 years ago. But yeah, the way to continue doing so is, I think, to start exploring, these discount campaigns will help and see which ones, have incentives, and find out, just start exploring. The other thing about Cartelligent that I want to let you know is that, once you start the transaction with them, you can say like, I'm really interested in that Kia Niro. So you actually let them know like, oh, this is, the trim that I would like. I want it to be blue. You give them all the specifications, then they'll go out and source that car for you. And if they come back and they're like, we couldn't find a blue one, or, you're not obligated to purchase that car.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Yeah, so I can buy the car at this point for, I think it's 26,000.
Right.
So that's what I'm trading it off against. Should I just, buy the car?
Yeah.
Or should I, get another one? So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
And
so is 26 good or bad? I don't know. It was high because it was right during pandemic when I got it. So I know it's high, but
yes.
But I don't know if that's a good deal today or not.
Well, we'll be doing an EV showcase that has like pricing on cars, so you can see what that looks like after this next few slides. So
okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I would just say, I mean, I love the Nissan Leaf. It, came out in 2012. It's been around for a really, really long time. It's been amazing.
We love it.
Yeah, it's so fun to drive. The only downside I would say is the charging system, the charging standard, the CHAdeMO. So, but I heard that, I just read yesterday that I think there's a new adapter that's coming out for the Nissan Leaf so that you can charge it at, using other charging stations. But Nissan Leaf is the only car currently, the only new car that's coming out that has the CHAdeMO. So that's the only downside.
Right.
I would think, yeah.
And do you know whether with that adapter then would it have that ability to do bidirectional into the house in an emergency?
Not with that particular adapter. That particular adapter would
Or is there a CHAdeMO? Is there a CHAdeMO version that allows you to do what you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, the bidirectional.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I know Nissan Leaf does have a bidirectional charger inside its battery. So it's possible, but not currently. Like I know it's been used in other countries that way. Like in Japan, I know they fire up streetlights with like Nissan Leaf batteries and things like this.
Okay.
And I know that with some new systems, there are some like home energy management systems coming out. They are approved for Nissan Leaf. It's a very good question. And maybe I will get back to you individually on that one. I may have to do a little more digging on the Nissan Leaf before I really give you a definitive answer on that.
Right, because I mean, I'd love to have that feature. That's awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Costco car buying service has negotiated similar deals. Yeah, sometimes if Costco has deals on these, they can be stacked. So I don't know if any of these have a Costco. I don't think they currently have a Costco. But yeah, that is one thing to consider, that it can be stacked if Costco has a deal for one of these. I don't usually will list that. If it does, I'm not seeing that on here. So currently maybe not one of these, but yeah, sometimes Costco does have deals. I don't know what their current deals are. Does not use PG&E. We have, yes, that is correct. You do have a municipal utility, so you would not qualify for the PG&E rebate for pre-owned. But while CPAU sponsors this webinar, we are very thankful for the fact that they open this up to anybody. So we have people probably throughout the Bay Area. I see somebody from Alameda County. So that's why I kind of mentioned these other, programs that are available. EV discount for Kia Niros only for finance and lease. No. So that's a really good point. So for this discount campaign, it's for finance and lease. The only one that is available for finance and lease is the Volkswagen ID4. The other 4 cars, the Volvo, the Kia Niro, and the Hyundai Ioniq, do not qualify for the financing rebate because they're not manufactured in the United States. So the Volkswagen ID4, if you want to purchase or by cash or finance it, the only one that will give you that discount, then the federal tax credit, $7,500 cash on the hood, you would get that for the Volkswagen ID4. But for the others, it's for leasing. But they do have some other deals. So there's a dealer, like for instance, the Kia Niro EV has a dealer finance rebate. So if you finance it, you can get $5,000 off still. Same with the Ioniq 5. There's a $7,500 purchase or finance rebate. I think sometimes these manufacturers are like, oh, we don't get the federal tax credit, so we're going to give it up front. So EV cars will be part of the discount campaign. Yes, I wish we knew that, Bo. It really depends on the market. We really don't find out. So I'm just answering Bo's question, what kind of EV cars will be part of the discount campaign in the future. We really don't find out about which cars are going to be part of the campaign until a week in advance. And we don't really know what the discounts are until like maybe a day before we launch it. So it really depends because these, the pricing for cars changes monthly. So Cartelligent follows this very closely, is able to negotiate special deals at certain times. So we don't know, but we typically, we try to offer a nice range of EVs every time we do one. Okay, I'm going to move on. Any other questions about this discount campaign? We can do more in the Q&A if you do have more questions, but I will continue if I don't see any more. Okay, thanks. Awesome. So in addition to save money with an EV, you'll also save time. We talked about the HOV lane access for a single passenger. It took me 3 months to get mine. And I was driving for the first time through San Francisco, from the peninsula up to San Rafael, where I live. And I was like, yay, I had my stickers on for the first time. So that was great. So for many people, it's convenient to charge at home or at work. And then EVs offer low maintenance, as I mentioned, and efficiency. While there are 2,000 plus moving parts in a gas car, there are fewer than 20 in an EV. So you'll have fewer maintenance visits. I know, for example, with Tesla, they're like, yeah, after about 6 years, come and, check it out. So that's great. And then often you'll get VIP parking, for when you have an EV. Sometimes the chargers are set up right in front at like a shopping center or in a parking garage. And sometimes at workplaces, you'll have that nice, rock star parking opportunity with an EV. And EVs are a little more fun to drive. What I really like is the extra power or torque that you get when you drive an EV. I can quickly accelerate when I'm getting on the freeway, and then I can just easily maneuver between lanes. Because EVs are so powerful, you can just kind of power up and glide into where you want to be. Feels a little bit safer too, because you have that extra power there. The quiet and smooth drive makes for great conversations and great audiobook listening when you're on a road trip. And for me, the high safety ratings were a really big factor. At the time when I first got my EVs, I had teenagers at home driving, and so that was important to me. But of course, high safety ratings are important to everyone. So with so many EVs and plug-in hybrids available, there is an EV or e-bike for every lifestyle or budget. Most fully electric cars now offer 200 to 300 miles of range. Some will go even farther on one charge. That means you can go from San Francisco to Tahoe with just maybe a 15-minute charging break. And in some EVs, you don't have to stop at all. Of course, because of the regenerative braking that EVs have on your way home from Tahoe, since you're going downhill, your battery is actually charging, so you probably won't have to stop and charge. It also means you can go from, Palo Alto to Sacramento and back in a lot of these cars without having to think about stopping to charge. That really wasn't the case 5 years ago until this first car came out, the Chevy Bolt, which was the first EV that came out with a long range under $40,000, and the price has come down significantly for the Chevy Bolt since then. So in this next section, I'm going to be doing an EV showcase. And I'll be focusing on some popular EVs that have been around for a while and some that will be coming out in 2024. The prices listed are the base MSRP. I've starred the ones that qualify for the federal clean vehicle credit for purchase. And so, yeah, the Bolt is the best deal around. It's super fun to drive. It's, really peppy. So there's the Bolt EV that's a little smaller than the Bolt EUV, which came out just a couple years ago. Let's see, when you buy or lease a Chevy Bolt, you'll get a free level 2 charger or a charging card for $500. Unfortunately, GM is taking a break from production for 2024. So buy your Chevy Bolt, 2023 Chevy Bolt now while there's still a few around, if this is the car you're interested in. So they're taking a break in 2024. They'll be back in 2025 with just the Chevy Bolt EUV and an Ultium battery, an updated battery. I would say the only downside on the Chevy Bolt is that it's a little bit slower to charge when you're at a fast charger. So while some of the newer models out and some of the Teslas are like 20 to 30 minutes to go from 10 to 80% of a charge, the Chevy Bolt might take like 40 to 45 minutes or so. So if you're using it for a lot of road tripping, that is a little bit of a downside. The Nissan Leaf has been around since 2012 as a lower range option, and the Plus model offers a higher range at just a little more cost. So interesting to look at that. So the next 3 cars came out in 2021, so they're relatively new. The ID4 is the first from Volkswagen ID brand. There are more coming. This one does qualify for the federal tax credit, as you can see, for lease and finance. People love their Mustang Mach-E, and the new Audi Q4 e-tron comes in at a great price, $20,000 less than the regular Audi e-tron. As I mentioned before, the average price of a new car these days is $48,000, so these models are quite competitive. So there's Tesla. With Tesla, we like to focus on the technology. The Model 3 and Y are the more affordable models. And several of the trims qualify for the federal tax credit I mentioned. With the Tesla Model 3, only the performance model qualifies. With the Model Y, they all qualify. These are beautiful, safe cars, and the Model Y also has an optional 3rd row and seats 7 passengers. I think 2 small passengers in the very back. We'll talk a little bit. I'll talk about it now. One of the reasons that people choose Tesla is because of their superchargers, their excellent charging network that, fast, easy, reliable charging. So we say that, if you are planning on using the public charging network most of the time, or if you are going to take this car on a lot of road trips or, really do a lot of public charging, We think a Tesla is a great choice currently because of just this. It was pretty smart. They built out their own charging network. They need it to work because they also sell cars, so they want to make sure that the charging infrastructure works. Some good news, though, is that the Tesla standard for charging is now becoming the North American Charging Standard, or NACS. So starting this year, almost every EV manufacturer will be offering an adapter so that you can charge at the Tesla supercharging network. You would just use the Tesla app and connect, to your charging experience that way, just like Tesla drivers do. And then in 2025, these same manufacturers are going to be installing the NACS, the port in the vehicles. So it's just going to be a very easy charging experience for everyone. So that's really good news. And, for early adopters of EVs, people are willing to put up with a little bit of a hassle. But now when we're going more mainstream, we know that, 1 out of 5 cars in California is an EV now. Sold in California is an EV. So we need we need for people to have like an easy, reliable, experience. And also in terms of equity, for people who live in apartments and condos, it can be challenging to own an EV if you don't have a charging station there. So some people are relying on the public charging network. So, yeah. All right. So the cars on this slide all have a bidirectional battery, so you can power a refrigerator or other appliance with the car battery for a week or so. No need for a gas generator when you have one of these cars. The Kias and the Hyundais are built on the same platform, which also offers fast charging. The Kia Niro has been updated this year, so it also has a fast charger. It's a little bit of new styling also, really cool. And the Fisker Ocean is exciting with a full-length solar sky roof. So if it's parked in the sun during the day, it can generate 1,500 emissions-free miles per year. At the push of a button, all 8 windows come down and the sky roof, making it as close to a convertible as you can get with an EV. Besides the Tesla Roadster, which is a very small sports car. Subaru and Toyota were a little late to the EV market, but we're excited now that they have the Subaru Solterra and the Toyota bZ4X. The Nissan Ariya is Nissan's second all-electric EV, just came out as well last year. And the Volvo Recharge brand. So Volvo is committed to all electric and vegan seats for all of their models by 2030. You sit up nice and high in the XC40, and the C40 is a crossover, which is pretty sleek looking. Volvo also offers plug-in hybrids for many of their standard models, and one of them is available on our discount campaign now. And the Polestar is a relative of Volvo. It's also a very nicely appointed EV. I'll give you my personal story on that one. My brother is a big car guy, and he always wants to have the latest model, so he only leases his cars. So his first EV was a Polestar, and then he also has a Tesla Model Y that he uses for road trips. But he prefers the Polestar. He feels like it drives a lot better. It's a very nicely appointed car, like the Volvos. It feels more like a luxury ride than the Tesla does. But yeah, that's kind of his story on it. And let's see, 3 rows of seats. So these vehicles, this is like something that's rather new in the EV world. A lot of people are interested in taking their cars and their bigger families to Tahoe or, on big road trips. So people are looking for cars with 3 rows of seats that can seat 7 passengers. And these are all available. I believe the Kia EV9 was voted Best New Car of the Year by Green Car, by several different, organizations. We have some electric trucks. These 3 trucks are already here. More are on their way, like this Chevy Silverado EV and the Ram EV truck. I don't know if any of you have had the experience of driving and then all of a sudden a Tesla Cybertruck is next to you and it's like, whoa, that's pretty trippy. Um, yeah, I saw one parked on a small street in San Francisco on Grant Street in North Beach. There was a big Cybertruck. And I was like, whoa, it looked really out of place. But a million people, over a million people have ordered that car. The Ford F-150 Lightning, we think is really going to be a game changer. I did not know this, but the regular Ford F-150 is the most popular car in the United States and has been for decades. This car is really acts as a generator because you can plug it into your home's electric system for backup power when there's an outage, and it acts as a battery on wheels when you're driving. So really great. If you have equipment that needs to be charged during the day, you can just throw in the back of the truck and charge it up using the big battery in the EV. So the Rivian brand, I'll just speak to that for a minute. Really exciting all electric brand. They are putting out their own chargers. You may have seen them around. I've seen them at Crissy Field and out at Stinson Beach and a couple of other places. So Rivian is really marketing themselves as the adventure brand, and they're putting lots of charging stations out in like national parks and far-reaching places because they want you to take your car on big adventures and be able to charge it. So I'm going to talk about a couple cars that are coming out this year. So Chevrolet, as I mentioned, they're taking a break in 2024, but they are mixed on their Chevy Bolts, but they are mixing it up with a few exciting new models. The Chevy Blazer EV is the first mass market SUV built on GM's Ultium EV toolkit. It has a good real world range, an interface that will help drivers find charging stations, and a familiar layout. And the Equinox is comes in at a really great price. These are not final prices, of course, and sometimes that changes when we get a little closer to the release date. But it's exciting to see these cars that, Chevy's had this smaller Chevy Bolt, which is great when you live in the city or if, parking is at a premium. And these are, more crossover-y. But if finding a parking spot is often on your mind, one of these smaller EVs should be on your radar. The 2025 Mini Cooper EV comes with significantly more range than the current model. The Fiat 500e was popular for many years and is now making a comeback with more range. It's a very cute car. And the Volvo EX30 is due to come out this summer. Volvo is marketing it as small in size and big on safety. Volvos have always been known for safety. A little more on the Volkswagen ID brand. They've promised to come out with new EVs every year for the next several years. The ID.7 sort of speaks to the Passat family as a sedan. And my personal favorite, the Volkswagen ID Buzz microbus. I have personal visions of driving up and down the coast in one of these cars and, skipping the hotels and just kind of making my own, having my own little experience there with the kitchen. Looks really cool. Super excited for this. Okay, so if you cannot find an all-electric car that works for you, there are many plug-in hybrids or PHEVs out there. If you plug in a PHEV every day, you may be able to cover your commute driving all electric, and you can save the gas tank for road trips. These are all great commuter cars in the Bay Area. Most people's commute is less than 40 miles, unless you're in sales or a few other jobs, or unless you're an Uber driver. But so these have nice long electric ranges, and that Volvo XC60 is available as well on our discount campaign. I'm happy that the Toyota Prius Prime just upped their range from like 26 to 42. Volvo did the same last year. It was in the 20s, now it's up to 35. So this is great. We want to get as big of a battery as possible on these plug-in hybrids to save you money and to to reduce emissions as much as possible. If you're looking for a larger plug-in hybrid, here are a few options. I know the Jeep is really popular car. Sometimes the pricing might look high on some of these, but then they might have some good lease deals. So that's something to consider if you're interested. So EVs have been around for just about 10 to 12 years. And with this new technology, people have tended to lease their EVs. So there are many available on the used market. And EVs are always coming off their leases. So it's really great to check. And so it's interesting. So if you want to get a Volkswagen e-Golf, you won't necessarily find it at a Volkswagen dealer. They will probably have a few, but you might find it at a different dealer depending upon where the trade-in took place. So it's good to you can check those often on Craigslist. We recommend two great used EV dealerships. One is called, I'm just going to throw these into the chat right now, eMotion Autos, and the other one is Greenlight Autos. So eMotion Autos, it's pretty new. We're working extensively with them. They're two retired Stanford professors who were doing research on climate change in the 80s. And so they decided, they wanted to spend their retirement helping people go electric and reduce their emissions. So they are great guys to work with. That's where I got my used Tesla Model Y from them. I got a used Volkswagen e-Golf. That's our second car from the Volkswagen dealership. But anyway, so eMotion Autos is great. The way they do it is they go to auction for you. So you will tell them exactly what car you want. They can help you figure out what car you might want. But they will, you give them a $500 deposit. And if they find the car that you want, then, you have a deal. You would lose that deposit. But if they can't find the exact car that you're looking for, they'll give you the deposit back. And then, you can look at Greenlight Autos. They have inventory on their website. So these are all, great options. And there are some significant discount incentives now available on pre-owned EVs, depending upon where you live, that the federal tax credit now as well. A little bit on e-bikes. So if you're not in the market for an e-bike might be just right for you. So instead of hopping in a gas car, you can try commuting or running errands with an e-bike. They are fast and fun. There are so many different types to choose from. And while they were really at a premium during the pandemic, you can find some great deals out there now. Palo Alto Bicycles, we've worked extensively with, Rad Power Bikes in Berkeley. The New Wheel has a couple of locations in, Oakland, San Francisco, Corte Madera, or Larkspur, I think it is. So really great. So as you can see, there are many EVs and e-bikes available. Our website lists available and coming EVs, and we have links to some test drives and testimonials. You're always welcome to come back to more webinars to learn more. I'm going to take a quick glance right now at the chat to see before I move on to the next section. Is charging usually free? No. So it's at home, it's you can get on a special EV time of use rate. I'll be talking a little bit more about charging, but when you're on the, for public charging, you have to pay for charging. Level 2 is typically about the same price as charging at home. Depends though. And level 3 tends, which you use for road trips, is typically a little bit more expensive, but still cheaper than driving a gas car. Some workplaces have free charging. That's really good. There's also one company called Volta that has free charging. You can look them up on PlugShare, which is the app that we use to find all of our EV chargers. For the Kia Niro, there's no discount if you buy it outright. The discount is on the lease. Yeah, I had to return my 2020 Chevy Bolt recently because my lease ends. Was paying $120 per month because of the incentives at the beginning. Yes, I think I remember you from a webinar way back there a couple of years ago during the pandemic. There were some amazing lease deals on that Chevy Bolt at one time. And yes, but I'm hearing, for example, a friend of mine just leased a Kia Niro She put down 5,000 and is paying less than $300 a month for a lease. So that's pretty great. What does the star mean? Oh, the star means that they are available for the federal tax credit for purchase or finance. Yeah. Yeah, from what I've understood, a friend of mine tried to lease a Chevy Bolt about a year ago, and the lease prices were more like $700 a month on the Chevy Bolt. So I would say right now, purchasing the Chevy Bolt is the way to go if you're interested in that car because of the federal tax credit. It was a Bolt. It was great. Recall, yes. So I just want to point that out. Buying a used Chevy Bolt that had a recall might be a great way to go. I'm hearing you could get like a 2017 Chevy Bolt with a pretty new battery pack, which means a new warranty for like 7 to 8 years. Available for about 15,000. I've heard that through Emotion Autos. So if that sounds interesting to you, that's something to consider. They also can give you that used EV discount if you qualify. Will there be an adapter for the CHAdeMO for Tesla? I'm going to get back to you, Matt. When you get your email from me, will you please reach out to me? And I want to do a little bit more research. I'm not as up to date on the Nissan Leaf, and I need to know that. And I don't want to give you any wrong information. Cybertrucks all the time. Oh yeah, I'm sure they're down there in Palo Alto. They are goofy. If anyone interested in a Volvo XR, ask me questions. Oh yeah, that's great. Thanks, Hank. So that's the fully electric Volvo, our hybrid cars, part of the discount program. So just the Volvo XC60, not XC60. Sorry, I have it right here. Sorry, I don't remember all of the names of the cars, but it is the oh yeah, the XC60. It's part of the recharge band. So yeah, so that's the only one that is part of our current discount campaign. Okay, Emotion Autos, thank you. We'll check them out. Market for e-bike. Yay. Bolt, even for a lease is, I know, Javier. Yes, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna move right along here. A little bit on charging. Hang on 1 second. So people do get worried about charging, but charging for most people, hang on a second, 80 to 90% of charging for many people is done at home or at work. Charging at home is easy. You just plug in the charger that comes with your vehicle. It doesn't come with all vehicles anymore. It used to, but you can purchase one. Just plug it into a standard 120-volt outlet. There's no install cost besides perhaps an extension cord. It gives you 25 to 40 miles of charge in 8 hours. In the Bay Area, as I mentioned, most people drive less than 25 miles a day. So this simple solution called Level 1 works out great for most people. I just did a panel. I was moderating a panel at a conference with somebody from Peninsula Clean Energy, who said that for 94% of people in their service area, Level 1 is plenty. But if you do drive more than 40 miles a day, a good option is to see if you can charge at work. And if that's not available, you may want to purchase a home charging station for level 2 charging. You'll get about 25 miles in an hour, so you can easily get a full charge overnight. But I want to point out that charging an EV is different from filling up a gas car. If you have access to a charger, easy access to a charger at home or at work, you're basically just topping off the electricity that you used each day. I am lucky to have charging at my home. So I am basically charging my car from about 60 to 80% on a day-to-day basis, which is very quick. And if I just charge it on a regular standard outlet, that would be fine. The first step for both of these is to consult with an electrician. We have an online resource on our website to help with that. Charging away from home is easy too, and you'll want to be doing it with a level 3 charger. So with road tripping, it's level 3 charging. Level 3 charging for most cars will be about 20 to 30 minutes to go from 10 to 80%. I will warn you, the last 20% takes a really, really long time. The charging starts off really, really, really fast in the beginning, and then it slows down. And at the very end, it's like molasses. And this is to protect your battery, really. So there are 3 different systems currently. On the left here is the Nissan Chatamo. On the right here is the Tesla, which currently is only for Tesla cars. The one in the middle is the CCS that every other car uses. So that's the most common one right now. But as I mentioned, most manufacturers are moving on to the Tesla, the NACS charging standard. So once you start driving electric, it's ideal to charge your EV from rooftop solar. There's a federal tax credit available this year and for the next 9 years for 30% of the cost of solar. It's a great feeling to charge your car from electricity that you generate from your own roof. And if you're not ready for solar, you can choose a clean energy plan from your utility or CCA. So you're charging your EV with clean, renewable energy from the sun and the wind. If you live in Palo Alto, CPAU is a leader in clean, affordable electricity and has been carbon neutral for over 10 years. In addition to clean energy, your utility may offer a special reduced EV or time of use rate so that you pay less for electricity during certain times of the day. Oftentimes that is between midnight and 3 p.m. If you are a CPAU customer, you get the same great price all the time. But really, most utilities recommend to not charge your EV between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. Try to avoid charging because that's when all of the demand is for electricity. The best time to charge your EV, if it's possible, is during the day when the sun is shining, because we have so much clean solar energy on our grid during the day. So a little bit more about who we are. We're here to help you go electric. We have these EV and e-bike discount campaigns like the one we have going now. We offer EV and e-bike shows. We're starting to set them up for April and May. We do EV 101s and EV 102 webinars weekly, and we have some great information on our website. So I'd like to thank you for attending this program wherever you are on your journey to an EV. I hope it was helpful, and I'd like to thank the City of Palo Alto Utilities for sponsoring this webinar. If you can make the switch to driving electric now, we're here to help. The sooner the better. If you're not ready now, can we have your support by pledging to make your next car electric? Our biggest ask really is please don't buy a new gas car. It will be on this earth emitting carbon and air pollution for 12 to 15 years, and we have to stop doing that. Please unmute if you have a question.
I have some information, Anika.
Okay.
I've been shopping. Mercedes gives a discount if you have an American Express card.
Oh, yes, I heard that.
It's a lot, $2,500
Nice.
off the price. Maybe it's not all models. Volvo will give you a little price break if you have a Costco membership.
Okay. And that should stack. I'll check in with Cartelligent. That should be stacking with the Cartelligent one because that typically does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's all I know.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes, some incentives can be stacked. Like for the pre-owned cars, they can be. Like if you're an MCE customer and your income qualifies, you can get the MCE discount, you can get the PG&E discount, and you could get the federal tax credit. And then there are some others, if you're in, they have income requirements, very strict income requirements, and some of those can stack as well.
I have a quick question, if I could. Is there anything specifically with Palo Alto Utilities?
They don't offer any rebates right now, no. But they have really good pricing on electricity. Some of the best in the Bay Area. I'm jealous. So again, thanks all for coming. I will be sending a follow-up email tomorrow. Please come back to another webinar. We have that webinar with a Cartelligent staff member coming up next week on Thursday at 5 p.m. So please join. You can ask specific questions about how it all works. And yeah, thanks so much for your interest in going electric. And please keep us posted on your journey to an EV. All right, good night.